Hey, Internet land. It's Thomas Christ, and this is the second episode of Chatting with Christ. I kind of need a better name for this show because it's kind of cheesy, but it was the best I could come up with at the time. So anyway, what we're gonna do today is something a little different. We're gonna look at this old piece of, I guess you would call it found footage. I don't know what the hell you call it. It's from a company that halfway doesn't exist anymore. It's from 1967. I stumbled across this on the old internet. And so anyway, and the link to the full thing is in the description if you want to watch the whole thing after this or whatever. But then anyway, so, back in the day, we used to kind of think about what the future would be like. And I know, it was the case for me just growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, and even more so the case for people who grew up in an era, sort of before that. So, there were grandiose thoughts about what would happen in the future. This particular little flick is entitled 1999 AD. So it's supposed to be set in 1999. Now, I don't know why they didn't go the whole way to 2000, because you think you shoot for the moon if you're going to do this, But 1999, it's such a random year to set this in. Anyway, hey, Russ. I see Russ is here. Anyway, so we're going to check this out, a little bit of it. I sat here all day and kind of clipped out some relevant bits of it. There's kind of a lot of stuff in it that's just cheesy and, maybe it'd be fun to watch all, but we're just going to hit the important parts of what they thought was going to happen in 1999, back in 1967, according to a corporation, Philco Ford. I had said earlier I thought it was General Electric, but it's actually Philco Ford. So what happened was in 1961, the Ford Motor Company. There was an electronics company called Philco, and the Ford Motor Company bought them up in 1961, and up until the 1980s, they sold Philco Ford branded products. So basically, this is kind of like a giant commercial in a lot of ways. You'll see the logo pop up a lot of places. Anyway, so this is what they thought was going to happen in the future, and it's funny how there's some things that actually, kind of did happen. There's a lot of things that were just completely missing the mark, and then there's just some things where they couldn't envision. Like, it's funny when they envisioned the future, they envisioned it in such a way that it was like whatever technology they had then, just kind of like taken to the extreme instead of thinking about new kinds of technologies that may kind of crop up. They just didn't seem to be able to envision that might happen. So anyway, so here's the first little thing from this. Let's see if we can do this here. And it starts with the son, Master James, and his mother Karen on a beach.
Mom, how do the gulls fly?
Well, they ride on the air.
Like an air car?
Sort of. What are you building, Jamie?
It's our house. Can't you tell?
Yes, but you haven't finished it.
What did I forget?
What's this room?
That's the center where I go to school.
Yes.
Now, they were still doing the international accents back then.
Where I go to sleep, and where you and Daddy sleep. And where we go to swim, and where we see the ball game.
They have all this in their house.
What did I...
Well, you left out the room where you're supposed to scrub behind your ears.
Oh, yeah. The bath court.
Right. And there's one more, the health center.
Where Daddy exercises is measured?
Right.
How does the computer know everything? I mean, like, how many times to exercise and all?
I haven't the faintest notion. That's just too much for your old mother to understand.
Oh,
How does the computer
I'm
know?
not so old.
Well, I'll be 44 next year.
That's not so old.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
What year is it now? I forgot.
If the kid doesn't know what year it is, and it's just the creepy music comes in. This is really ominous. The future is scary. I don't know whose 75th anniversary it was, because so that's the first kind of little clip there. I love the ominous music at the end, and the how many things one of the things that just baffled me about this is like, so this is obviously a very wealthy family, as we're gonna see when we find out what Dad does, because these are not middle class people here, folks. So anyway, so then now we're going to be introduced to Dad. And we'll see what Dad's up to.
1999.
Oh wait, there's this first. I forgot about this. So what this is they're just describing this fictional home that they imagine that people might live in.
More than a generation away, and yet
love this car. Looks like Batmobile.
And even now, scientists and planners are shaping the lives of our children who will live in the 21st century. How will they live? Perhaps in a honeycombed structure like this, the oldest, strongest natural shape known.
We'll tear down all the
Modules
houses
that grow with a family's size and interests.
So we're going to tear down all the houses and build these weird honeycomb houses. This is in 1967. In 1999, not that far away at that point. So anyway, so now we're going to be introduced to Dad, Michael Shore, which is funny for reasons that you don't know. But anyway, here we go.
Michael Shore, 45.
Oh yeah, and it's Wink Martindale.
Father is an astrophysicist.
He's an astrophysicist.
Each week, he commutes to a distant laboratory where he's engaged in the Mars 1 project, the colonization of the first planet.
We're colonizing Mars.
In the some 10 years he
1999.
attended a Midwestern university was botany. It is one of his many continuing hobbies. He is engrossed on this sunny morning in the study of the cellular structure of a new exotic fruit tree.
This guy does a lot.
Hopefully, his experiments will produce a giant peach with a thick protective skin much like that of a tangerine.
Colonizing Mars, giant peaches.
This is one of the many 21st century devices or appliances that are part of the everyday life of the Shore family.
Here's a. Is this an iPad? We didn't have those in 1999
This
yet.
workbench with its electronic screen enables Michael to call up photographic sections of the two parent fruit trees from which he began his experiments 3 years ago.
So we
At
can
that
do all
time,
this on an
He
iPad.
stored the two photographic images in the central home computer, which is secretary, librarian, banker, teacher, medical technician,
You have to have like a
bridge partner,
gigantic
and all-around
computer in your
servant
house to do all
in
this.
house of tomorrow. All pertinent information about this family, its records, its tastes and reference
Look at all those
materials,
switches, my
is stored
goodness.
in these memory banks.
What does this thing
available
do?
instantly to every member of the family.
So we have all these switches. this giant machine. Like they just couldn't fathom that we might like create like a microchip, and we might be storing this stuff. Probably more information than they could even fathom at that time in 1967 on, a machine about the size of like a toaster, And right, as Amelia said, we have this now in our pockets. Of course, this is supposed to be 1999. We didn't have it in pockets yet. That would come later. So, nothing that a good virus wouldn't slow him down. So now we're going to meet the kid, the son, Master James. We'll find out what he does, what he's up to. It's funny because it became more relevant this year and probably more accurate this year than it's ever been before. But here we go. So this is the son.
Master James Shore, 8 years old, student, attends formal school 2 mornings a week. Much of his education, however, is carried on in a kind of education center within the home.
Like Zoom?
His assignments are programmed into the home computer and fed into teaching machines, which allow him to progress as rapidly as his awakening mind can absorb the audio-visual lessons.
Except he doesn't know what year it is. He's got this keyboard with nothing but X's and Y's on it. You flunk. Yeah, failed again. Doesn't know what year it is. Doesn't know the answers to the test. Now you gotta go listen to the lecture. Poor guy. So you get another device for the lecture now.
This is lecture 102. Galileo's
We're about to
life
find out why
work, and
he's
indeed his
such a
personal
bad student.
character, can perhaps be exemplified by describing one of his early experiments. According to Aristotle, a body that falls possesses weight. Those that do not
He's watching
fall
cartoons.
have no weight.
I don't think he cares that he flunked that much. So anyway, so kids are learning at home now, but that's only a thing that's really started in 2020. I guess kids have been doing that to some extent before then, but yeah, it's kind of just started this year because we were forced to. And it does seem like they throw a little shade on this. It's kind of like they say, yeah, this is probably going to happen, but at the same time, it's probably going to happen, but at the same time, like, it might be a bad thing because, see, they're just gonna play around and watch cartoons and not know what year it is. So now we're introduced to Karen, who doesn't seem to be much of a Karen in the sense that we think of it. But anyway.
Karen Anshaw, 43, wife, mother, part-time homemaker.
Hey, Mom, I'm hungry.
Yeah, me too. How about lunch?
How about 2 minutes?
People are very demanding.
Okay, 2 minutes and counting. 120, 119.
And this
All right,
annoying
you better
kid
not
actually
show up with a
counts
dirty
the
face.
time, the whole time.
115.
See, he's still counting.
113.
Except he miscounts. This kid is not very bright.
112.
Now we have another machine just to give you, like, recipes. Like, the expense of all this alone would be extravagant. I mean, it's unfathomable.
Mike, how about chicken salad?
Ugh.
Cheese omelet?
Cheeseburger, some French fries, and a nice cold bottle of beer.
A nice
I'll
cold
see.
bottle of beer. These machines are also very concerned about health.
Mike, cold roast beef?
Okay, be right there.
No burger for you.
75, 74.
Kid's still counting.
73.
One of my favorite parts here. Right here. Where the dishes come down through these tubes for absolutely no reason. They just levitate down. Look at that. What kind of technology is this?
39, 38,
Kid's still counting.
37, 36.
TV dinners. It's the future. Exactly, deep gravity. Yeah, Dad was probably not pleased. But it's the machines. They tell us what to do.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
2.
Dad's counting now.
And luncheon is served.
Split-second lunches, color-keyed disposable dishes, all part of the instant society of tomorrow, a society rich in leisure and taken for granted comforts. At the turn of the next century, most food will be stored frozen in individual portions.
Frozen
The
food.
computer will keep a running inventory on all foodstuffs and suggest daily menus based on the nutritional needs of the family. When the meal has been selected, the various portions are fed automatically into the microwave oven for a few seconds of thawing or warming.
Thawing. So now in the future. Oops, sorry about that. Trying to do this. Anyway, so in the future, you're going to be eating TV dinners, reheated, thawed TV dinners, and the computer's going to tell you what to eat. And it might say that you can't have what you want. Very interesting. Very interesting. So this next part, we'll see. This is just a very short clip, and this is just about sort of like cleanliness situation that's going on. It's a little different. So here's this.
The house of 1999 will be virtually maintenance-free.
Maintenance-free.
A central atmospheric system will maintain constant year-around temperatures and control humidity, bacteria, pollen, and dust. Clothing of the non-disposable variety will be stored in cleaning closets, where a chemical vapor atmosphere and an ultrasonic vibrator will remove
ultrasonic vibrator. So your clothes are going to be randomly just shaking in the closet with some kind of steam going over them. But yeah, the maintenance free. That would be news to people that lived in 1999 that had homes, because I don't think they were maintenance free. So anyway, now this is where we get into some stuff where it's actually somewhat accurate. This is pretty interesting.
Fingertip Shopping will be one of the many homemakers' conveniences.
Amazon?
This video console will be channeled into the store of her choice. There, a camera will scan a display of wares, which she will select by push button.
It's wrong, but it's right.
Another part of this console is a household monitor screen, which maintains a watch on critical areas in the house, swimming pool, or yard. What the wife selects on her console will be paid for by the husband at his counterpart console. All bills and transactions.
What the wife selects at her console will be paid for by the father's console. Man, and the sexism in this is just rampant, you know. But I guess that's the way people thought back in 1967, you know. But my goodness. Yeah, Dad's going to pay for it. Whatever she picks out, he's going to pay for it. He doesn't look happy about that either.
A central bank computer will debit the family's account the amount of purchases and credit the department store, for example, informing the family's home computer at the same time.
But see, this is all, we have all this.
Father, at the touch of a button, receives an instantaneous printed copy of his budget, the amount of taxes he owes, the payments left on the car, and so forth.
I don't know why he needs to print it out.
All documents and household records are available on the video screen for immediate reference. Also at his disposal is an electronic correspondence machine, or home post office.
Email.
Which allows for instant written communication between individuals anywhere in the world.
So there we had some stuff that actually happened. So yeah, like Russ says here at Apple Pay, that's one example of it. But I mean, I think even back in 1999, you probably were starting to get the option to do online banking. So that's not such a far-fetched thing, and the online shopping has existed for a while. That's why we have Cyber Monday now. So that part, even though the means, because of course they can't imagine anything that would be different than the technology that existed already then. It was totally different, but what it is able to accomplish is completely possible. So, and not altogether uncommon. So that is something that, like, you know, we do have in every home. We have in the palm of our hands now. There's nothing about smutty websites. That's disappointing. That's very true. So this next part here is about the way the home is powered. Now this is where it gets back into the fantastical stuff again.
The home energy center, with its fuel cell,
Get your own
furnishes
fuel cell.
power, provides absolutely pure water, burns waste, and heats or cools the rooms. Too computerized? Too cold? The world of tomorrow will be as cold as sunlight tuned through photochromic windows.
Photochromic windows. So there's a part here where it almost, I don't think anything's actually missing. Yeah, I wonder if they're on AOL dial-up. The kind of, because internet existed, I think, since like sometime in the late 70s, early 80s. It was very, very primitive, and it was dial-up, and it was really slow dial-up at that. And it was mostly just text that was possible. But so you have they alluded to it earlier. There's like some kind of a swimming area. I don't think anything was missing out of this part, but it almost seems like it.
It will be as wide as the ocean, which provide not only recreation for the adventurous, but
So I guess you have your own like
increasing
ocean.
variety of hydra-cultured exotic fresh foodstuffs.
Yeah, you're getting the hydrocultured. So what's interesting about that is they're talking about hydrocultured foodstuffs. You know, we've kind of, what's happened in recent years is we've kind of moved away from farmed, and, you know, the whole thing is getting stuff more from nature and the wild. We're not really that into, you know, things like that. So anyway. Yeah, photochromatic. It's been in glasses since the 80s. Huh. Anyway, so we're going to move on to this next part. This is about music. This is my favorite part because this is like garage band. Not really, though.
And tomorrow will be as happy as music.
Hey, Chopin, what's up?
Oh, playing a song?
Ah, what's it called?
I forgot.
You faker. How about playing the song we learned yesterday?
Okay.
So here's your garage band.
Let's augment this a bit, shall we?
Okay.
So somehow they go from playing a cheesy organ to having big band in the background. It's nuts. And the buttons aren't even labeled. What are they even doing? Is this a synthesizer? What is this? So... like, what? Yeah, no, yeah, that's exactly how I do it. Yep. And so, yeah, they just go from like they're playing an organ, like a cheesy home organ from this. You know, this was in the height of the home organ boom. That was a big thing back in the late 60s, early 70s. But you go from that. There was, of course, you know, the early synthesizers were coming out around that time, and all of a sudden you're a one-man big band with buttons that don't even tell you what they do. You just somehow are supposed to know. Interesting. So anyway, so now we go on to exercise and health. This is an interesting thing. Like I said, there's an obsession with health, and I know there was kind of a health craze in the late 60s. So that probably factors
As
into
part
this.
of his everyday regime, Michael Shore enters this home health center. He lies for perhaps 15 seconds on a kind of medical couch. His weight, temperature, pulse, respiration, blood pressure, and electrocardiogram are routinely recorded. At the same time, his body is scanned for any isolated temperature pockets that signal oncoming disease or a localized infection. At the end of the examination period, the computer calculates the amount of exercise necessary to balance Mike's food intake and maintain proper muscle tone.
So this thing.
Exercise requirements: 8.5 minutes bicycle, 6 minutes.
It also sounds like a Dalek or something.
Oh, it's ridiculous. This thing can make a mistake, you know.
Your weight increase over 30 days, 1.1 kilograms. Repeat exercise requirements: 8.5 minutes bicycle, 6 minutes programmed calisthenics.
First of all, I think the requirements got bigger the second time around. And then second of all, what's with the voice? What's with the robot voice? I don't understand why you have to do this. Exterminate.
Confirm, please. Confirm, please.
The computer now relays any important physical
Everything has to be
changes
horrifying.
to a central community medical center, where Mike's personal physician will be alerted for further diagnosis. At conclusion of the exercise period, the pertinent data are again recorded for comparison with pre-exercise measurements. The results are again forwarded to the community medical center for further study if necessary.
And this community medical center, like, in all seriousness, like, how much time do they have on their hands that they're going to just, every time this guy works out or something, they're getting his data and they're examining it and comparing it with the time before or some other metrics or something. Like, who has time for that? But, again, these people are apparently, the guy's an astrophysicist who's working to colonize Mars and also growing giant peaches. So I suppose then in that case, he's got some money. He's not poor. We're going to just say that. So anyway, so here's a little bit about how Karen and the son, Master James, spend their leisure time in 1999.
In a virtually dirt-free environment, Karen Shaw, several hours a week, gets her hands very dirty.
Very dirty.
She's a skilled potter. Her work decorates their home and the homes of many of their friends.
It doesn't look that
During her
great.
career years, she was a teacher of fine arts. Now she's able to continue practicing her crafts because the household demands on her time have been greatly diminished.
See, now here's the thing about that. She said she was 44. So it doesn't make sense to me. Like, why has she's already retired at 44? Well, I guess, when your husband's an astrophysicist, so then why was she even teaching fine arts in the first place? It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, it said she was skilled. Now, that may be up for some debate. So she isn't very good. So now we're going to see about something that did kind of exist. Not exactly the way they envisioned it, though.
In the same way, Jamie, although he has a rigorous lesson schedule, is already taking advantage of his electronic world.
We have PC chess. I think this was on Windows since 1995. Graphics aren't that great.
Who's your worthy opponent?
Dad,
Oh.
I'm replaying that game we had Sunday. He's a little loose with his queen. Now I want to see if I can work that trap that Bobby Fischer used in the World Games.
You don't want to be
Your
loose
dad
with
will
your
be home
queen.
soon. Why don't you wait and play him live?
Okay.
So yeah, so you can play virtual chess in 1999, according to people in 1967. All right, so now there's just this little funny clip. It's one of the shortest clips I have, I think. About so they're gonna have this party, And I'll have to admit, I did leave the party scene out for the most part, because there's not really a whole lot that goes on there. But so Karen is gonna cook dinner, and now we saw how they make dinner in 1999. Usually, according to this film, they put it in the to rehydrate, de-thaw the food. Frozen food. It's basically a TV dinner that the computer decides what you get to eat every day. Well, apparently, that's not the case when you're going to have a party. So we'll find out here what happens when you're going to entertain guests.
What you doing with the oranges?
I'm fixing dinner.
The old-fashioned way?
Mm-hmm. The old-fashioned way.
The old-fashioned way. And I love the kid, if you watch this, when he says it, he has a little smirk on his face. You see that little smirk? Because he knows how ridiculous this is.
The old-fashioned way?
Mm-hmm. The old-fashioned way.
What you call that stuff?
Well, we're having duckling a la orange, my love.
That's pretty fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Are we having company?
The Shaws are giving a party.
So when you're having company over, you make dinner the old-fashioned way with oranges and duck. Wow. Now, my question is, if people are not accustomed to cooking anymore, how do they learn to cook? Don't they forget how to cook? Maybe, I don't know. If you're used to the computer doing it for you, you'd think you would maybe lose those skills. Apparently not, though. So I only have one more clip for you. And this is toward the end of the party. So what happens is they play there's a big screen, and they play a video of this Latin band playing a song that goes on way too long. So at the end of that, then this happens.
Mike, would you make me a dupe of that? I'd like to show it to some friends of ours who spend a lot of time down there.
Sure. Well, I guess you want it in 3D. Huh?
Yeah.
Would you? Let's listen to that again. Would you make a dupe of that?
Mike, would you make me a dupe of that? I'd like to show it to some friends of ours who spend a lot of time down there.
Sure. Well, I guess you want it in 3D. Huh?
Yeah, we finally made the switch.
Yeah, we finally made the switch to 3D. Now, when they showed the video before, there was no indication that it was in 3D. And yeah, Russ says, just get pizza and wings. That's probably a way to go. Anyway,
You got to keep up with the times, you know.
Yeah, but
But what?
But what? That was pretty aggressive there. On behalf of Mr. Michael Shore, aka Wink Martindale. He seems to be a little agitated, this line of questioning.
well, there's a 3D and 4D, you know. What's next?
What's next? You never know. You never really know.
You never really know. What is 4D anyway? Is that a thing? That can't be a thing. I think they're just making stuff up now. They were making stuff up the whole time anyway. So now we get our little. We reached the end of this masterpiece, and we are going to get to a part where it all kind of gets summed up by our narrator.
What's next? The things you've seen are technically possible. It remains only to apply what we now know to fulfill these dreams of tomorrow. The world of 1999 and beyond is limited only by the boundaries of our imagination today.
So there we go. Oh, 4D is it is a thing. It is a thing. John, hi John, welcome to the stream. It is a thing. And Deep Gravity it says 4D is sound and picture combined. I'll have to look into that. Anyway. So there you go. That is what 1999 was supposed to be like, according to Philco Ford Company, which doesn't exist anymore. But so it's very interesting. You know, they seem to be they hit some things right, because we have a store where we can buy things sort of online. I guess they envision there's got to be some sort of an internet happening. I don't think the internet existed in 1967 in any meaningful way, but they envision some sort of interconnected system of computers. So they're right about that. So that actually did happen. I don't think that they envisioned that the computing devices would shrink. That seemed to be one thing that they really missed in this. And also one thing that, and it was pointed out by a lot of people that had commented on this video. Hey, it's Pete Johns. How you doing, Pete? You kind of missed the whole thing at this point. So you could always go back and check that out. But yeah, it's good to see you here. So anyway, they didn't seem to understand that, and a lot of commenters pointed this out, that devices could be used for more than one purpose. So you see that there was a separate machine for showing the kid in the education center how to, he says he's good at missing things. But showing the kids the Master James in the education center. He had to watch the lecture. That was one machine. Or watch the presentation. That was one machine. He had to go take a test. That was on another machine. You had a keyboard that just had X and Y on it, just to answer the questions. So you had a separate keyboard just to answer the questions on the test. And then when he flunked, then you had to go over to another machine to then listen to the lecture to get the information that he obviously wasn't understanding. So there's like 4 different machines and screens. Russ has to go. See you, Russ. Thanks for coming. There's 4 different screens just for this kid to have education. Now, we're all doing it, on one thing. And that thing can do many other things when the kids aren't in school. So they really missed that. You have another machine then just to look up the recipes. And I think that machine, that may be the only machine in this whole video that does dual purpose, because it's also the one where she can go shopping on. I think that's the same machine, but they don't make that explicitly clear. And then you have the separate machines for the health center. That has all different equipment and machines that, so the cost of all this, and then the father has different machines where he's processing the bills and the banking. So they just don't seem to understand that there could be like one machine that you could bring with you different places that would do all these things. So we actually have that here. Now, in 1999, you didn't quite have that, but you did have PCs, and they did a lot of similar things at that point. So, yeah, so that was one thing they didn't get right. But, like, we have the online shopping. That was correct. We have the online banking. That was sort of correct. Now, this whole idea of these honeycomb houses that are modular and you can add rooms on. First of all, who the hell can afford that? Apparently, an astrophysicist who is colonizing Mars and growing giant peaches can afford that. But I think everybody else is going to be left out if that's even a thing. Apparently, there are a couple of these homes that actually exist, like somewhere in Texas or something. But yeah, I think for the most part, that's going to be off limits to a lot of people. And then there's the colonizing Mars part. Now, I can imagine, we were in the height of the space race in 1967. They might have thought that was going to continue, exponentially. That didn't. We kind of got to the moon and said, we're good. We hit the moon. That's enough. Actually, we're kind of getting back into it now. Although, of course, the disappointing thing for me is that it's all private companies that are doing it for their own financial gain instead of, this national effort, like when NASA was really great in the United States. But yeah, we certainly are a long way from colonizing Mars. So they didn't hit on that. We do have the ability to record things in one place and show it in another place. So that part, when they had the party, they showed the clip of the video from this performer from Puerto Rico performing. That was accurate. That's a thing we can actually do. And really, we can do it a lot better than the way that they did it, because it's part of, they didn't imagine that video and stuff would be part of this internet, because maybe they thought that's going to be too much information to transmit, from one place to another. So they probably thought at the most it's going to be text. You're not going to be able to have sound and video, but obviously we have all those things you're watching right now that way. So they totally missed that. The guy had the giant thing just for looking at pictures, and we have iPads that do a similar thing, and we can scale things and make them bigger and smaller, but they just couldn't envision, again, that it could do something else. Also, the thing was humongous. If you actually had a screen that was that huge, you'd probably pay a pretty penny for that. So, but, again, like we've been saying, this is a wealthy family. So, does anybody have any questions or any comments that they want to say about this? I think it's fascinating. I think it's really, really interesting. And this is also, to bring this back into music, this kind of stuff, this like found footage like this is great for sampling. So, and there's a few things in there that I would think about looking at for sampling. So that's one thing that's really good about this, but it's just fascinating to look at the way that we looked at the future from 1967. And there was an obsession with the future back then. We really were kind of very interested in and excited about all this technology. Now we're very wary about it, because now we've had it, it's here, and we're kind of like, it's encroaching on our lives a little too much sometimes. We're not sure when we're being recorded and where we're being recorded, and it's a lot of ethical problems with the technology that I don't think were envisioned back then. And they had the thing about the rooms where you would have cameras just being able to spy on people at all, everywhere on the property. That seems to me to a little Big Brotherish. So yeah. So that's kind of this 1999 AD. It's one vision of the future. I just love looking at these old films like this. I was looking the other day at some footage from, these propaganda films that came out from the United States and Britain during World War II, particularly about planting victory gardens. So maybe we'll have to look at one of those sometime, because those are pretty interesting. They're actually not that long. They're only about 10, 15 minutes. So anyway, I think I'm going to kind of wrap things up here tonight. I thank all of you for joining. It's been fantastic. And we'll hope you have a great, got the holidays coming up this week. So have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And I'm sure I'll have some more things for you as the week goes on. And, if not this week, then certainly next week. But probably maybe this week. We'll see. So thank you for being here. And if you aren't subscribed, be sure to subscribe. And go like the Facebook page, as I always say. I got to get a song of the day up. I didn't do that yet. So I'm slacking a little bit. But anyway, thank you so much. And have a great evening. We'll see you all later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.